day, people looking and go, you're the egg paladin guy.
Yeah.
Especially when you write your profile as all egg jokes.
Yeah, he doesn't want to be known.
But I think he wants to be known as a guy who's actually good at Hearthstone as well as able to, do a good meme when required. And I think he's taking it seriously. Last week was all meta decks. I expect this week will be the same.
Well, let's see which decks were banned. I'm going to take a bit of a guess here.
Oh,
whoa, okay. You took me aback ever so slightly there, Boarcontrol. And you are leaving the warrior in play. He's just going to ban out the priest. Now, as we said earlier, we did see Duncan take away and leave the warrior last week, and he had a 3-0 victory because of it. Do you think Boarcontrol has tailored his lineup here to specifically beat warrior, or is he just more scared of that, what we would think, be a dragon priest?
I'm just staring at it. Yeah, I think that might mean his warlock is Zoo. He brought Zoo last week. Warlock is okay against warrior, against pirate warrior, assuming that. It's not so good against priest. It doesn't like the priest, even with the even worse with the 4-drop version where you're a bit slower. And he was playing Defender and Crystal Weaver last week, so maybe he's playing that same deck again. In which case, banning the priest is less crazy looking. But I'm just a fan of banning warrior personally.
But I mean, you'd think you'd get rid of the shaman if you're playing Zoo, right? I mean, shaman surely is more of a threat than the priest.
I actually think the priest is harder personally.
I suppose Holy Nova is something.
The shaman's no fun, but the priest is even less fun.
Well, either way, we are going to be moving into this one, and we're going to start things off Boarcontrol on the shaman, and it is going to be Jambre playing a rogue here. It's just going to be pirate rogue as well, it looks like. So, looks like the aggressive variant of rogue here.
Just to put into context, by the way, these two, how big a surprise it was that these both lost last week. They were combined 24-9, 24 wins, 9 losses going into last week's event.
Wow. So
them both losing on the same day, pretty much a credit to Ben and to Pieman. And yeah, we get this non-committal hand from Boarcontrol. How are we supposed to know what he's playing from that hand?
He doesn't even look like he knows what he's playing either. He's not looking interested whatsoever.
Looking more cheerful than he did last week.
Probably tapped out. Just playing the mind games already. Making Jambre wait. But I mean, it's interesting. I didn't touch on it. They're both 0-1. We wouldn't have expected this matchup being a 0-1 matchup. Both to be playing for one. Maybe they could have both been 1-0, and then we'd be seeing the same matchup. But no, one of these guys, two is going to be 0-2.
Yeah, and you don't want to be in the 0-2 bracket anyway, and even less so if one of these guys is in there hunting you down. I think 0-2 bracket is going to be very, very interesting next week, and they definitely, obviously, want to avoid doing that. Boar deciding there to keep the Jade Lightning and the Jade Claws together in his opening hand. Sometimes when you do keep that combination, your Jades actually become relevant quicker than you'd expect. Like in the Shaman deck, they become not that relevant a lot of the time, especially the aggro Shaman. But if you keep 2 Jades, then suddenly your third one is absolutely insane.
Now, Boarcontrol last week, I believe, actually brought mid-range Shaman, so I wonder whether he switched things up.
Yeah, Lightning Storm does seem to be a hint that he's brought the mid-range again.
I mean, we've seen in the past people take it into aggro just for other aggro matchups, but yeah, I think you're right. It's probably going to be the same again. On the other side for Jambre, he did play the South Sea deckhand early, and there was no Maelstrom Portal to deal with it, so he will probably be thankful of that. It's always hard when you play those pirates early and then a Maelstrom Portal just comes down to shut you down immediately.
Yeah, those Maelstrom Portals are pretty nuts. I mean, they don't seem like they do much, but coupled with spell damage, coupled with the fact that Pirates is so powerful, suddenly a card that does 1 damage to everything is insane. Plus the fact it gives you something on the board. We're seeing more and more of those tempo cards now, so I think we'll see that cards like Maelstrom Portal will be used. Cards like it will be used more. Cards specifically Maelstrom Portal may be used slightly less as better options come to play.
Interesting, Boarcontrol decided not to swing and take out patches.
Thank you.
I don't think... Oh, I guess it does make a little bit of a difference, because now he can trade off. Wouldn't have been able to do that if he had swung with his weapon there, with the Jade Claws.
And now this unchallenged 5-4 is going to have to be dealt with Lightning Bolt, and he's not going to be able to roll for the spell damage because then he can't develop the Trog. You can't leave these Tomb Pillagers living for long. And yeah, Boar resolved a lot of his opening problems here though. He has the Jade next turn to kill most things that Rogue can play. So he will have 2 minions on the board, probably versus none. At least how he sees it, we can see that the deckhand will possibly have something to say about that.
Be a juicy turn 6 for Jambre as well. Both those coins prep. If he can draw more spells to work with, then that Auctioneer is going to go off. But it's getting there first. I mean, is there even the possibility of, not this turn, but maybe turn 5, you coin, then Auctioneer, then coin, or prep? And use the coin to get to that turn 6? Yeah,
depending what he draws next turn, he may have to do something next turn. If he draws, I don't know, another preparation or something, I think we're going to have to see him just go for some cards, because otherwise he's going to fall behind here. Boar almost certain to pick up something he can play there, and the reason he is heads in handing is because that's probably the only card other than the Chieftains. He's counting how many things were bad, and it wasn't many, because now he has to not only not play either this turn, but he can't play a next turn. He can't not develop anything. He wants to look after the Jade Lightning to remove actual stuff, and so he's having to play these earlier than he would like, which means they won't defend against Leroy's and stuff later because they will be dead.
So as I said, possibility now, you could coin, Auctioneer, coin. Yep. You've got a Cold Blood to work with as well to initiate if you want. You've got the prep, but it is a risk, I guess. You need to be drawing something else, otherwise you're just... I mean, yes, okay, you're cycling, but you're just giving up that Auctioneer to be taken off the board quite comfortably. You are, but you're also making sure that you've got something you can do next turn whilst your opponent is dealing with this turn. So whilst this Auctioneer is going to splat stuff all over the board now, Boar will have to tidy that up, and then next turn, from all these draws, Jambre will have something he can do. Whatever that something is, we'll have to wait and see. He's going to prep to look for more. Yeah, he's just wondering whether to Swashbuckler first, but I don't think you do. I think you prep first. Either that or you could Cold Blood first, draw again.
I guess you're always Cold Blooding. Okay, so you're always Cold Blooding, so use the 1 mana for that, but that means you don't Swashbuckle. That was the decision. And yeah, not much happening here. Gonna need to pick up something like a fan. Second Cold Blood. Are you cornered into playing it? You can't do the damage later if you do.
No, that's an unfortunate draw. You could have played it, but as I said, you were already dying to onboard anyway.
Smile from Boarcontrol there. That's when you know you are in deep trouble.
Yeah, the Jade Lightning paying off, and then of course the Aya Black Paw will be available next turn as well. I was going to call her Jade Black Paw then, I guess. She kind of is.
She kind of is. Yeah. It's probably her, like, nickname.
That's her nickname on the streets. The mean streets. Yes. That's really bad, but it's okay.
I'm good with that. I'm absolutely fine with that. Jambre trying to generate something that... I think he was just trying to get anything useful here. Conceal, nothing happening. Because the Auctioneer whiffed so many times, he's having to buff this as high as he can, but looking really, really messy for him.
Yeah, he's just trying to put as much on the board as possible just to try and contest what Boarcontrol already has. A shame really he couldn't do any more with it. I mean, a possibility here for Boarcontrol...
Oh. As a Drake into Portal into just trade one thing, and so many of Jambre's threats have been dealt with at this point, and Boar having the board looking fantastic. And Jambre's going to have to pick up a second Auctioneer, I feel, here to have any sort of comeback opportunity. Maybe an Azure Drake would help him out a little bit.
That's definitely not helping. That's one of your win conditions with a stealth. You can't play that again, really, to just try and contest board. I guess you I mean, if you're really desperate, you could play Adventurer into Windspeaker just to try and put as much on the board as possible because you're worried about just being beaten down.
How do you ever win if you do that? I mean, you're right, you've got to stop yourself from dying as well, but if you do that, how do you ever actually finish the game? I
think that's one of these horrible situations, though, with Hearthstone, where you pretty much know you are down and out, but you still got to do what you can just to try and stay alive. The game doesn't become winning. It becomes staying alive and hoping that you get some miraculous draw that can get you out. But I completely agree with you. I'm trying to think, what is the out?
So I guess he's thinking along the terms of, if I drew Auctioneer into Conceal, could I win that way? Then he's going to think, okay, if that doesn't work, can I possibly win just by not dying? I do have Leroy Coldblood, that's 10. Where can I find 11 more? And none of those things that I just said sound any use at all.
No, they don't. And Jambre knows. You can see it in his face.
So I think we might just see him throw out the questing of the Windspeaker just because nothing else makes any sense.
Instead he's just going to armor up and hope for something a little bit crazy, but now Boarcontrol can just pile on the pressure. Drop Aya. Can even just put the J Golem down as well, and yeah, that's going to be the game, to be honest.
Going to be the game. That Auctioneer that just didn't pick much up at all basically the end there for Jambre. Boarcontrol did manage his overload really well that turn. He had an awkward looking turn. Did manage to play something which meant he had 4 mana available. He played the Feral, but knew he had 4 mana available for his Jade Lightning. He didn't waste that Jade Lightning, just aim it at face or something, which is quite often tempting because you're thinking your opponent's just going to conceal anyway, so why not get the 4 in and make the minion? But he saw a line that meant that he could kill an Auctioneer if it was hanging around on the board, and that's exactly what happened.
And the perfect start, of course, always is when you go 1-0 up, but it's also very important when you go 1-0 up against a previous champion and your teammate as well. I mean, as you said, there's a lot of, well, not bad, but I don't want to say there's bad blood between these two. They're obviously very good friends, but
there's a lot of storyline between these two.
There's a lot of respect between the two as well, but you've also, when you are on a team, you can have that banter. You can be like, yeah, but remember in round 2 when I knocked you out, and now you didn't qualify for playoffs because of that. Me and you, no. As teammates, we never played against each other, thankfully, because I probably would have lost. But it's alright. We can now move on to game number 2 here. Jambre still with Warrior, Shaman and Rogue to work with, and of course Boarcontrol doesn't need the Shaman anymore, just Warlock and Mage. I'm wondering about that Mage, because we said Warlock might be Zoolock, but do you think it's probably going to be Reno Mage, or do you think we're going to see Tempo Mage? Because Tempo Mage, again, has been kind of coming up through the ranks on ladder, especially recently. It's kind of like a tier 3 deck at the moment.
Yeah, I'm torn on that one. I think that Tempo Mage might be slightly better, but Reno Mage is the one that is best equipped to deal with pirates, which have not been banned.
Yes.
So if I had to go for it, I'd say it's going to be the Reno Mage, which doesn't seem a very Boarcontrol deck to me, but there you go.
Yeah, he's one of these players that kind of favours the tempo game, the mid-range game.
Right.
But he is a fantastic player, previous champion, of course, has won a lot through the UK scene, so he can probably pilot any deck successfully.
Yeah, I mean, he's an incredibly powerful player.
Yeah,
so.
And looking at that mulligan as well, you'd probably suggest that that's going to be... well, actually, I mean, it could be Freeze Mage, just looking at that.
I mean, it can just be just about anything, right? There's even versions of Tempo Mage that would run these 3 cards to get the extra card draw and keep the pain coming. But I'm still going to stick by the fact that it's probably Reno.
I have seen, I mean, a list I saw today, actually, Acolyte being run in Tempo Mage, so you're completely right, it could be anything. And, well...
Tell us something, game.
I mean, again, it could still be anything. That might change things, though.
Right.
The Emperor coming through would suggest, to me anyway, that it's Arena Mage.
Yeah, I mean...
I mean, it still could be.
It still could be either. Let's have a...
But I think this is one of the fun things, because you'll see, we get to see what the players see, right? We don't have the deck lists. We don't know the deck lists. A lot of tournaments casters get to see the deck list, but we get to see it from the player's eye. Of course, we will see the cards in their hand, but we will be thinking the same things as they are. What could this be? What variant of deck is it going to be?
And there's the giveaway. That's the Reno Mage. Absolute, complete giveaway. And so Boar is indeed targeting that Pirate Warrior, as we suspected. And there is the proof. So this is going to be a grind fest, this particular game.
Any deck you'd favour in this situation? No? I personally, I'm 50-50 in my personal experience of playing this. On ladder anyway, so I'm struggling to see a winner. I think it comes down to who can get that removal first and who can build up a bigger board. Of course, those Jades can be so effective in this matchup.
The Mage doesn't have that many threats, and if you don't draw them, then you end up in a bit of trouble. And Boar is drawing a bit of a curve here, but obviously if they can be dealt with and the late game Jades can come through for Jambre, then that would make Jambre favourite in that regard. And so far, he's done a good job of dealing with the stuff on the board.
And of course, Acolyte was amazing in Freeze Mage because you could draw so much, and he's got the potential to do more of the same here. You could just ping it if he wants to, but of course you are worried about the Mana Tide Totem that you most likely going to Frostbolt out of the way. How worried are you about card draw though?
I mean, normally you're very, very worried about it, but when your opponent already has 9 cards in their hand, the damage is kind of done.
Yeah.
And so you still prioritise it, you still don't want it to be on the board, but it's a little bit less terrifying than if your opponent's on like 2 cards and burning your face every turn.
Of course, he didn't actually have Frostbolt yet. Had Arcane Blast instead, and means he can build more of a board presence.
Yeah, picking up the Flame Tongue is also an option, not necessarily now, but whenever he wants to start building just an army of free minions. You know, with what your hero power does, this game is not going to end anytime soon. So anything that is value-based is basically free. The mana is far less important than it would be in, say, a really aggressive matchup.
Yeah, and Jambre is not going to be too concerned about any sort of ball presence being built up by Boar at the moment, because he's got that removal. We can see he's got Thalnos, he's got 2 Maelstrom portals, has a Drake as well, so plenty to work with just to clear anything that Boarcontrol does put on. And he won't be worried about his life total because the Mistress of Mixtures is down there. I mean, that's going to, of course, help his life total as well.
Yeah, he won't be worried about his health total, but he will be worried about this Bran, because Bran into Jade can just wreck you really quickly. So it's something he has to deal with immediately. And I guess we see the Acolyte bump into it and see what he picks up with the intention to Frostbolt, which is no fun. When your next turn is probably Flame Strike, the last thing you want to do is deal with a 2-4 using your actual hand.
I guess there is merit for using Volcanic Potion.
Yeah. Maybe that's better. It's not going to get any value later in the game, I guess, although it will consistently deal with the totems, of course. But in terms of the Jades, at least, it won't get any value later in the game.
So you could run Mistress into Bran, then Volcanic. Your Acolyte stays alive as a 1-1. Then you just go face with it and then ping.
I wonder if you just run your Acolyte into the Bran anyway to pick up a card, just get 2 cards from it, without having to spend any mana on the ping.
But I mean, the Volcanic Potion is going to get him one anyway, right? So I guess he's not going to get the extra card drawn now.
He just gets it in the end,
He'll
guaranteed
get it eventually.
Anyway. And that is a nice pickup if he wants it, but he's going with the Swampoos. He's going to start putting pressure on the board. If you can call this pressure, of course.
Yeah, and that's the scary thing of having the Manatite Totem early on from Jambre as well. Like, look what he has to work with. He's going to be thinking, well, this is fine. We can go to late game. We see a Jade Chieftain as well. He is well equipped to take this all the way.
Yeah, I have no idea how Boar is supposed to deal with this. A decent Bran, maybe even, sorry, a decent Kazakus, Bran Kazakus with 10 mana potions, a huge chunks of value. Turn your opponent's stuff into sheep, bring back some of your stuff. There's things he can do to win this game, but they're going to involve Kazakus, they're going to involve possibly something like a Medivh if he's running that, although that seems unlikely as he's set out to beat Pirates. Medivh being a very late game value card.
And depending on how many Chieftains Jambre is running as well, I mean, you're looking at probably a max of, what, 7-7, maybe 8-8. Jade in the end. We've already seen the brand disappear, so we're not going to see anything too crazy. If he's running 2 Jade Chieftains, then suddenly that becomes a little bit more scary. I have seen decks where people are only running the 1, but I've also seen some where they run 2 as well. So possibilities, just late game at the moment, Jambre is looking relatively comfortable. We'll see the Reno being drawn by Boarcontrol, so if anything does get ugly early on, he does have a chance to heal himself back up. But I mean, if you're staring down at a full board, that's when it becomes scary.
And you're talking about the late game, but that late game is going to start basically when the Jades hit 5, which is now.
Yeah.
Because that's when they're out of your Flame Strike range, that's when they're out of 4 damage from Kazakus range, and the second they get past 6, they're out of everything range when they hit 7 and above. And obviously because of Aya, those things are going to happen soon. There's no Polymorph in Boar's hand, and although he's not facing an immediate beatdown, he knows if he doesn't clear this up, then next turn the Shaman can just go wild.
Yeah, and that's why there's merit perhaps to a Flame Strike turn here. But then
Jambre will see him hold it one more turn.
Yeah, just
okay, so here's his out. He's got the Alexstrasza in his deck, which means he may have Inkmaster into, say, Pyroblast later. Sometimes Inkmaster into Portal, Firelands Portal can be a good swing turn for him.
Yeah.
Those are the turns he's going to look for. Getting the Doomsayer down now means that Jambre is going to have to waste resources if he wants to have a board at the end of this turn. I think it's probably in his interest to do so. Those Maelstrom Portals probably don't have much else to do anyway.
Could have a Drake Lightning Bolt and then trade.
Yeah, that's the simple way. That makes sense as well.
I think I'm okay with that.
Sure.
That's
where he's going
as well. I mean, I guess if there's any... Oh, you could just drop a drop first
That's such a big pickup now.
Even better.
This makes this turn absolutely beautiful. Obviously, if you're sitting there thinking, yeah, it gets Flame Strike, you spend your whole turn playing Flame Strike. It's lovely to clear it if you've got something to drop after, like an Inkmaster, for instance. But here, Jambre is just going to lose his board and instantly just stick it back down there, and Boar will have no answer to the next board after this.
Yeah, I mean, just drop 2 5/5s, 7 mana. Seems pretty good. Seems a little bit broken. But yeah, looking at this, I'm struggling to see anything other than a Flame Striker. I guess Boarcontrol might be thinking, I don't need to panic.
Right, exactly. He's still on 30. He has Alex in hand. He has Reno in hand. He can play that Emperor if he wants to, just to start up the option for the Alexstrasza, especially being 8 later on, which could be really important for him.
Yep, so he's just going to drop Emperor, and now it could play into his hands if Jambre does just drop this Chieftain, of course. Flame Strike plus Forgotten Torch, or Flame Strike and a ping can deal with the majority of the board.
Yeah, Jambre may, if he does drop the Chieftain, he may choose to use his minions to trade into the Emperor, even though they're pretty inefficient here. Because that way it plays around Flame Strike a little bit. Boar's plays kind of suspicious here.
I kind of like
it looks like a holding turn.
Yeah, it definitely does. I mean, perhaps Flame Tongue Totem here. Trade with one of the Jade Golems.
Sure.
Or trade with the Jade Golem into the Emperor, and then just put a little bit more damage into the face. And I don't even know if you have to play anything else. Maybe you could drop the Thalmos, but I'd like to keep that for spell damage.
You can Maelstrom Portal, trade in your 3-2, just roll a totem and like ask board to do it all again. That's probably not enough pressure. And I mean, Jambre knows what this is about. He's trying to get as much as he can for as little as possible. He knows that at some point this board's getting cleared, and he wants to make sure that the board that gets cleared doesn't ruin him. And picking up that Jade Spirit means that he's going to be able to repopulate so fast when boards get cleared that he's in a great position. There again is the nod, the Flame Caller, to the fact that Boar wasn't going to ban Pirate Warrior. That's not in every deck.
No, it's definitely not. It's very rarely makes an appearance, but when it does make an appearance, it can be very impactful. And it's perhaps something that Boarcontrol won't want to play in this game because he won't want to give that tell away for when he plays a Warrior later.
Yeah, can he push this Flame Strike greed any further? He needs to push it as far as he can. But at some point it becomes a useless card when your opponent starts playing 5/5, 6/6s anyway. Maybe this is the time. He will be looking to try and get that Torch into his deck as well. Just so he can get the Alexstrasza, set up the block and kill you in 2 turns going on.
I guess his thought process at the moment is, I have got Flame Strike into Twilight Flame Caller. That is a 5 damage clear if I want it. At the moment, his Jade Golems are going to be at 5/5. So if he does play something like a Jade Chieftain, then I can clear that whole board. Perhaps I don't need to, again, panic. Could play an aggressive Alexstrasza.
Is he going to play Brand Flame Caller?
Wow, okay.
It clears the board.
I mean, that's one way.
Oh, it leaves at the Trog, okay.
It's a different route, but I like it because you've still got the Flame Strike to work with, and you have a little bit of board presence as well.
Yeah, the downside of the play is it gives up your Bran Kazakus later in the game. That's why Boar was wincing a little as he did it. He knew what he was giving up there was a lot of value. Pretty much all in on the Alexstrasza play behind an Ice Block now.
Yep, and that's the trouble though, when you're in this position and you want to save that Bran, it's just a card sitting in your hand doing nothing. You've only got 4 cards in hand, and he's thinking, well, if I don't draw Kazakus until my last, I don't know, 5 cards, am I even going to get there?
Yep, yeah, this kind of buys him 3 turns. It kills off the board once. It also kills this turn where Jambre can't let that live, and then it still keeps a Flame Strike, which will be a 3rd turn that he can use it for. And so his play did buy him 3 turns. There's a Harrison anti-pirate man.
Yeah, definitely a lot to tech against.
Yeah, he's really all in on beating the pirates. And again, as I've said before, when you do that, which is fine as long as you do beat the pirates enough times, you do become a little bit weak against the other decks. Like Harrison Jones against some of the other decks is pretty poor. Although Jambre has got 3 weapon classes, and maybe Boar factor that in.
So you could quite easily just Flame Tongue Totem, clean this up relatively comfortably.
Yep.
And then Jade Chieftain. And you're thinking, I mean, you may not even have to play the Chieftain yet. You could just play the thing from below and say, okay, if you want to Flame Strike this, then I'll build up my board afterwards. Yeah,
the Chieftain's a really good recovery tool. Obviously, putting down 2 minions with 5 or bigger going on at the same time is just completely insane. And oh, now he's picked up the 2nd Chieftain. That might change matters. He might choose to force the issue this time. But he still might go with your play as well. Just put down all the mediocre stuff. But yeah, the 2nd Jade Chieftain's given him the license to say, right, now I'm challenging you. You have to have it now.
Babbling Book, can that make any difference?
Babbling Book can always make a difference, Dan.
It never does for me. Pyroblast is...
Boar's face is one of, hey, maybe there's a way.
I mean, in theory, if he... No,
he can kill you.
If he finds a Fireball next turn and then he can Reno, then Fireball, stay alive, and then use that Pyroblast.
He's got Roaring Torch as well.
He just needs to make sure he can survive this 1 turn burst.
And he can,
There's
but
a
he
way.
hasn't got the damage at the moment, so... Do you Reno then Nova, or do you just Reno and then Nova the turn after? 5, 10, you've got to do something. Obviously, you're facing 23 damage. And Boar, I think, if he Renos, he's dead to 7 in hand. Probably less if you count spell damage. That would be terrifying experience for him. If he Frost Novas, then he can't. What happens is Jambre plays more stuff, and then next turn, your Reno's not good enough for sure. So I think you have to Reno first, shut your eyes, take the beating, hope to draw the Fireball, then next turn you Frost Nova, play the Fireball, and then the turn after that you Pyroblast. And that involves a lot of foresight and a lot of things that we can see that Boar can't.
I think I like that. I mean, the fact you've got the Babbling Book plus ping to clear the 6-2
Sure.
as well, then you're only facing, what, 17 damage? If I'm counting that right, it might be
Yeah, that's
17
good.
damage plus we can see the Lightning Bolt, that makes it 20. So you're still relatively comfortable. I think it would be
like
a
it.
panic button if he does play the Frost Nova now. I like just pinging and passing, and he's going to be playing to his outs. He's going to know. He's going to be thinking exactly what we're thinking right now,
Yeah.
to be honest. I mean, he's one of the best players in the UK. He's going to be calculating all these decisions.
There was a choice here as well where you could ping face, but I don't think he's got any more. I think he's used his Frostbolt and he's used his Torch, so he doesn't need to ping face twice, which would have been another out. If he'd had another 3 damage in his hand, that would have been another option. And now we're going to just see, can Boar pick up a damage spell? He needs to do 4 or more for what it's worth, but realistically it needs to be 6, because that's the cards he has.
That'll
Firelands
do.
Portal will do. He can Frost Nova and he can play the Portal into the face. And unless Jambre is playing Water Speaker in his deck, which he may well be, then he will be losing this game. But does he have the Water Speaker in there?
Water Speaker would be absolutely massive, but that's not going to be it. And we said, can Babbling Book make a difference? You said, yes it can, and boy, it has made a difference.
Now
with the
you know
Pyroblast.
what you're doing wrong with your Babbling Books, and I'm sure you'll fix it in the future. And Boarcontrol, unless we're going completely insane, is going to take a 2-0 lead.
And that's going to be painful to take in a game that he was really controlling so well, and just knowing that that Babbling Book has made the difference. Always difficult to lose that way. But you're going 2-0 down, you really just have to forget about it and move on and think about what you can do next.
Yeah, I think Jambre knows he's losing, but doesn't know why at this point.
Yeah.
It's one of those things like...
double Fireball.
Yeah.
Oh no, well.
He knows the Babbling Book,
yeah,
so
Babbling
he
Book.
knows it's a possibility, but I think he's worked out that something badly wrong is going on here.
And you can see the little giggle as well. A little bit of a smirk. And he said Babbling Book. And
Yeah.
there's the Kazakas that we were thinking earlier might make the difference, but it is going to be Pyroblast. And yeah, Jambre. It's nice that you can have a little laugh about it as well. And not be
Boar's seeing
too
the
annoyed.
funny side. After last week where he did have a bit of a rough ride,
Yeah.
this week picking up some of the good fortune that balances things out in the long run, as people try to tell you when you're losing, but it never feels like, that's gone forever. The rest is balanced.
And that was game over, right? If he didn't pick up that from the Babbling Book.
Yep.
So he's going to be counting his lucky stars, but I think he'll be more than happy to in this situation where loser goes to 0-2.
It's just going to be so hard. I'm saying that whoever loses this will be the best player on 0-2, almost certainly. But you've got to win 3 games in a row against the top 16 in the UK. At some point, the chances are you will lose one.
Yeah.
It's really hard to win 3 in a row in any tournament where you're playing against people who have qualified through a big system.
Warlock, last deck, now for Boarcontrol. Are we still thinking it's Zoo?
Yes.
Okay, well, that's...
sorry, I'll make a
solid.
story out of that
I
for
was
you.
trying to make just conversation, but Neil was saying no, it's definitely Zoo. I was thinking it could be Reno. We've just seen a Reno mage. Maybe he's thinking...
It could definitely be Reno. I mean, Reno's normally the favourite, but just with this warrior being left up, I feel like he's bringing Zoo. He brought Zoo last week.
Well, I've seen... I mean, I've played a lot of Zoo and a lot of Pirate Warrior recently on ladder, and of course ladder is different to a tournament setting, but I've seen Zoo lose to Pirate Warrior countless times. I mean,
it's not some sort of giant favourite. Nothing's a giant favourite against Pirate Warrior, which is why it gets banned so often.
Well, we will find out. And...
No, he's gone with the...
Well, Mr. Lorinda.
Yeah?
Do you still think it's Zoo now?
It's an interesting builder for Zoo, if so. No.
It is going to be the Pirate Warrior queued up by Jambre, though. He's saying, it's time, I need to get a win on the board, but he's going to be going up against Warlock. And, I mean, Pirate Warrior against Warlock, if they don't draw that Reno, you can just blow them away, blow them out of the water, and they can struggle. But, of course, Reno has so many tools to deal with the bombardment of aggression coming from Pirate Warrior.
Yeah, this matchup is one of the ones that has defined the current meta. We've seen this matchup many, many times. Feel like the Pirate Warrior is actually slight favourite, but it's nothing to write home about. Like you say, there's plenty of ways to defuse that. You can keep the Soulfire, that deals with the 3-4 that comes down on turn 3, or 2-4 if you count Frothing, but it's a 3-4 really.
Yep. Or
a 4-4. Demon Wrath looks pretty good. Swampooze looks pretty good.
He's going to throw away Demon Wrath though.
Yeah.
I mean, it can be a situation sometimes, Demon Wrath, where they've already got too much on the board that 2 damage isn't going to be anything substantial. So I can understand him throwing it away. Does have a Dirty Rat as well, which can be decent against Pirate Warrior if you can pull out something like a Corcoran Elite, I guess.
So just laughing at Boar's face here, just that resigned look of I'm going to have to Soulfire something in a minute and my hand is really good.
Yeah.
Goodbye Kazaka's written all over this. I'm not saying that Boar has a pessimistic attitude or anything there.
Well, I mean, Dirty Rat for me never works. But I've seen so many players in tournament settings like this take the risk and say, okay, I'm going to drop a Dirty Rat. It's going to be a 2-6. I've got a coin and a Soulfire if needs be, if something really threatening comes out. I mean...
So the problem with that, if you Dirty Rat and pull, say, another 2-3, just because I can see one in his hand,
yep.
Do you then Soulfire and let your opponent play a Frothing Berserker? This Soulfire is set aside for a 4 health minion, which could be a problem. Another problem is if you don't Dirty Rat, then what do you do? Maybe you have to coin out a Farseer, but that wastes 2 health gain.
I kind of like I kind of like Dirty Ratting, but I can see Jambre's hand, so it's very hard to make a real decision about how I would feel about it in that situation.
Do you like it? Like if it pulls, what's the best pull? The Bloodsail Raider. You then Soulfire a 2-3. He plays a Corcoran Elite.
I don't think you need to Soulfire it if it's a 2-3. I think you just say, okay, it's 2-6 on board.
Sure.
He can't get through that on board himself. He's going to need to do something different. But Boarcontrol looks like he's just going to pass here. Not even going to tap either. It's
so horrible when you do that against pirates. You spend the whole turn thinking, what do I do? And you decide, I can't even tap. I've just got to do nothing. But it will mean that the Farseer does get full value. It means that he's going to have the coin available. After Kazakus, maybe he wants to get something played on the same turn as a 1-drop. Maybe he wants to play the 5 potion and the Soulfire on the same turn. This way, he also doesn't have to Soulfire until his key cards are played.
Yeah. It was the sensible decision, I think, from Boarcontrol.
It was a difficult decision. Oh, this makes things difficult as well, because this doesn't deal with anything on the board, but it's just fundamentally a better minion than the Farseer.
I guess you...
But he needs to start dealing with stuff.
Yeah. I mean, your worry is what is going to come out of Jambre on turn 4. And we can see Corcoran Elite, which is a very, very good way to deal with in Gang Boss. So instead, he is actually just going to play the Farseer. And
have you seen turn 5, by the way, Dan? Have you seen how fun this is going to be?
I have. And this is always your fear when you're playing Arena Lock against Pirate Warrior, is just the constant bombardment that you have to deal with. Yes, okay, you've got tools like Kazakus to maybe pick up a potion that can deal with the board, but is that going to be too late?
And that is the big question. This Bruiser may tempt Boar into playing the Bruiser and the Soulfire. It's a pretty nice turn if you do that. You play the Bruiser, you Soulfire the 5-4, you kill off one of the 2-3. It leaves you with a Bruiser that is currently not dead on board. And a lot of the time, it leaves you with a good hand. But not all of the time.
Confirmation from the floor. From the other stream, Stream B, Osher has taken down Jammy JMG 3-2-1. So Osher will continue his start in the season and will be at 2-0. And this is the Osher that last season really struggled.
And the season before.
And the season before at the start, he just couldn't find anything. But perhaps the Swiss format is the way forward for him. 2 Dread Corsairs now going to come down, and this was the turn you were excited for, Lorinda.
I'm sure I was excited for it, but definitely a turn I identified as something that was good.
You can be excited for it. It's okay. You can be behind the Pirate Warrior. He's 2-0 down. Come on.
I don't like being the bad guy, Dan.
I'll be the bad guy. I was excited for that turn. It was thrilling, exhilarating. It had me off my seat. It didn't really.
It didn't really, no. You're still sat on. Actually, you've not been on your seat properly anyway. You're sort of propped up.
I'm propped up. I'm only 5'9". That's okay. I like to look big.
5 what?
5'9". I'm taller than you. Aren't I? I don't know. We'll find out later. I don't think the viewers really care.
Sounds like a challenge. The viewers care massively. So, Boar forced into taking this 1-drop because he needs to deal with stuff immediately.
Deal 2 damage to all minions, or do you gain 4 armor there? Obviously can ooze. He will deal 2 damage to all minions and draw a card. Not the best.
No, not a fantastic potion at all,
But
but it
also
works well with
combined-
that Demon Wrath.
Yeah, combined with the Demon Wrath, and I suppose drawing a card isn't the worst thing to do.
Sure, I mean, if he can draw into Reno Jackson, he's nullified a huge number of Jambre's threats now. Jambre's going to have a couple of very, very aggressive turns, and after that, it sort of peters out. So, as soon as board deals with one massive board, if his health total is respectable, and by respectable, probably 13 or something, he'll buy himself a little bit of time to get to Reno. If it's not respectable, then he's going to need to draw Reno very, very soon.
And what do you think hurts more? Not drawing Reno, or your opposition drawing Reno when you're the aggro?
It hurts me more when my opposition draws Reno, because I don't actually like playing Reno myself, because I'm a nice guy, as I said earlier. I like to be on the good guys team.
Wait, hold on. Okay.
Yeah, there is no good guys team in this
In
matchup.
this matchup, both bad guys. Demon Wrath and the Kazakh Potion can deal with the board, but he's just leaving an open board, and with just 10 health, that's
Yeah, but there's
very
no
scary.
lethal in hand, so he's going to be able to block the damage with just a Void Walker. One of Pirate Warrior's big issues is that it delivers its damage in 7s and 6s. Well, it doesn't do 7s, just 6s and 5s. Getting through a 1-3 means that means you waste a whole load of damage.
That's huge.
That is absolutely massive, though, as well.
That's a great call from Boarcontrol. Calculated what could be in the hand, and that will be Libra Jenkins taken off the board. And of course, that's still a 2-2 taunt as well to work with. So
Right, and a 1-3 taunt next turn, and then the turn after that, probably a good chance to be able to defend another taunt. And this is giving Boar a massive chance. He's going to get 3 or 4 turns worth of drawing into Reno, and that's a decent percentage chance. Blast Crystal into Doomsayer here. You do blow up your own taunt. Do you even need to play the Doomsayer, possibly? Maybe you just drop a Void Walker.
I like Void Walker into Argus.
Can you tap? Maybe he's considering you can tap. Yeah, he's saying it to the camera. Tap? Question mark.
Well, he knows he doesn't die.
He doesn't know, because double Mortal Strike would kill him.
True.
But it's near enough. I think you tap. I think you need to find this Reno. You've got enough turns with these taunts that I think you can tap a lot of the time here. But also next turn he gets to 8 mana if he doesn't Blast Crystal, which means he can tap on the turn he's looking for the Reno, which is a little bit safer.
I think a tap is a risk, and I think judging from Boarcontrol's play at the moment that I've seen in this game so far is that he's... never mind. I will delete that trail of thought. He will tap, and he will use the Blast Crystal and just have the 2 taunts to work with. Dark Feather as well, a chance to pick up something that might heal you back up slightly.
Yeah, he's decided to wait with a Peddler so that he sees his next draw, and then he'll have more information to work with to see exactly what he wants to get from the Peddler. The beatdown is irrelevant. If he draws into Reno, if he's not dead by the time he gets that healing, he will win the game. So having the extra 2 on board against 2 cards is not really that relevant right now, because Jambre cannot get through them both.
Yep, and Jambre can't play... There's no point playing a deckhand here really either. Or is there? I mean, it's just going to be taken down by the Void Walker.
Yeah, the deckhand can kill the 2-2 when he draws a weapon, and the weapon can kill the 1-3, so I guess he holds on to this. There's some health for Boar. He'll probably just Windmill Slam. He doesn't. My turn.
Soulfire as well. That's more burst damage.
Yeah, it's just another removal spell, but so is Corruption. I think you take the Soulfire. Your hand's going to be empty soon again. He's just going for Elven Archer.
Yeah, okay.
Pew pew.
Just putting as much on the board as he can at the moment. And he was himself back up as well. So he's continuing his search for Reno, but Jambre's continuing his search for finding damage. He doesn't have the out of double Mortal Strike anymore. There's a weapon that you were talking about.
So that's the 2-2 dealt with, but the look on Jambre's face kind of says it all. It's like, just need to be a bit fortunate. It's not over by any means. He can't see the hand. We can see the hand, which makes it look like Boar's in a good spot. If Jambre can draw into another Mortal Strike, maybe Boar messes up and puts him below 13.
Yeah.
And it's not just 13. If Jambre gets a weapon, he can attack into a minion and lower his own health total. With double Mortal Strike, that can enable him to do 12.
And do you ever take that into consideration to leave them even higher?
Yes.
So that they can't do it themselves
Yeah,
with
it's
a weapon
something
as well.
that most of the top players will be doing, is just making sure, okay, so they can damage themselves for 4 with a weapon. They could have double Mortal Strike, which would be 12, so I can't leave them on 12. Can't leave them on 13 because they can damage before. I have to leave them on 17 or whatever the biggest thing they can hurt
So
themselves
your
with.
worries are Heroic Strike and Fiery War Axe in those situations. They're the only thing you can do mana-wise to combine with 2 Mortal Strikes, right?
So double Mortal Strike and, yeah, Fiery War Axe.
Yeah. Well, he's actually going to use one of these Mortal Strikes early on to remove this taunt. Game plan has changed for Jambre. He says, I'm just going to keep pummeling that face. I don't want those taunts in my way. If I draw something like an Arcanite Reaper, I want to be able to do damage.
And it forced through 1 point, and there is Reno Jackson, and that is going to find the right-hand side at the bottom of Jambre's screen.
Oh, no.
Boarcontrol held on there until he got the Reno, and Jambre just gives it up. You can see the exploding cards there.
That's going to be the concede. And it's happened so much. As soon as that Reno drops, the concede button comes through, and it is going to be a 3-0 victory for Boarcontrol. Gets himself back. He'll be 1-1, but unfortunately for Jambre, the reigning champ is currently staring at a 0-2 in the Swiss, and that's scary. If you're currently sitting in the 0-2 as well, so the players who have lost to area 0-2, they can be saying, oh, I could be playing Jambre. Then you're possibly out of the tournament if you don't take down the reigning champion. Just
got to beat the reigning champion and then win the next 2 weeks as well. So these guys on 0-2 are going to have it all to do. When I gave those stats at the start, I just want to say that Boarcontrol's record, again, before last week, was 17-6 in this event.
Ooh.
That's some record over
Very
best
juicy.
of 5 conquest.
That is going to be, well, hard to take for Jambre.